it's well, let's talk about it. Let's get it out of the way and let's talk about it. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to the President attorney to assist you during this discussion and any questions you so desire. If you can't afford an attorney, one will be appointed by the court to represent you. You understand those rights? Having those rights in mind, you want to talk about this thing? You want to answer my questions?
There's nothing to talk about. I mean, I haven't talked to her about anything to do with any case she was a victim in.
Well, it's alleged, and that's what you've been arrested and charged for is a tampering with a witness. And what you need to know, and what anybody else who has any concerns over Dana's cases that are pending, particularly the assault case that's pending against him, where she's the victim, that no one can have contact with her about that. No one can have any contact with any witness or any victim in a case other than the prosecuting attorney or the defense attorney at the consent of the victim. So,
my only interest in Denise Florian is the fact that she's on the Health and Development Board and the Personnel Board and things related to her official duties with the government of the town.
And I think she's a volunteer. If that,
regardless, when you're officially appointed by the council, you make recommendations to the council.
I know you've got your ideas about that, but this relates to a pending case prosecution where she's a victim. And what's probably also forthcoming is an injunction, and that you'll probably be served to stay away from her and not have any contact with her.
Well, that would be. I just prefer she stay away from me and
That's
stop
fine.
dragging me out of restaurants.
Well, and when that happens, if that happens, you know, and I know that you have some reservations about certain people within our organization, maybe even reservations about me. But if you're going to have any credibility or any, weight to urge that, is when it happens, you got to let us know so that it can be investigated.
It doesn't do any good to call. Al Johnson assaulted me, and I called, and I got arrested for it. So considering that the pattern in practice has been to not take any single complaint that I've ever made to the Quartzsite Police Department.
Well, could you consider that maybe your credibility is ruined?
No, because all of this was before any of this ever happened. I mean, this has been going on for 3.5 years.
Okay. All I want you to do is just...
My credibility is excellent because my reputation goes back quite a ways before any of this started.
Okay. In the future, stay away from Denise Florian.
Be happy to. Would you please tell her to stay the heck away from me?
Well, I think it's the injunction that you'll be getting is binding on both of you.
Well, I hope it is, because I have no idea what on earth you're talking about, and I didn't have anything to do with the thing with the Dana deal.
Okay.
She made some...
No statements about getting her ex-husband to come out from California or Michael Roosh's ex-wife to come out and testify against their credibility? Anything about that?
Ex-wife? I don't even know who Michael Roosh is.
Michael Roosh is the person that cohabitates with Denise Florian. Know anything about that at all?
No.
Okay. All right, that's all I needed to ask you.
No, the only thing, I will tell you one thing though, Rick, since we're all here with it, the only thing that I do know about, and my only interest in it was, like I said, is the fact that she makes recommendations to the council as far as credibility, is the fact that someone sent me a series of, how do you say this? Okay, you know when you call and you leave a voicemail for somebody, they don't pick up the phone, you leave them a voicemail?
On a cell phone?
On a cell phone, right? Someone emailed me a series of voicemails from Denise Florian, drunk off her ass, saying something to the effect of, I had to put in a counselor to help you, whatever.
Well, let me ask you this.
And
let's just.
But I don't know who that person was, and I've had no conversation with them.
Do you know a person by the name of Lorenzo Arambula?
No. This was mailed to me anonymously. There may have been a forwarding on the bottom, but I don't know if that was the name or if it rings a bell. Right. I just know that someone sent me something, said they were sent it, and that it might be of interest to me.
Right.
And I just laughed. I said, yes, about the kind of state she was in that night at Taco Mio, and she grabbed me by the arm and yanked me out the door and wouldn't let me come back in.
Well,
so
how long ago was that?
That I got that? It was
that happened.
No,
this instance you're talking about where you had the issue with her at Taco Mio.
That was after she was put on the board. That was like maybe 6 weeks ago.
Well, as it relates to Dana's problems and cases, just if you, there are a number of people who are witnesses, and particularly in this one incident where he had an alleged situation with her, makes her a victim. So, don't have any contact with her. Don't try to influence her or tamper with her in any way. And that's what this is about. It's an allegation.
No, I haven't tried to influence or tamper with her. Like I said, my only interest in her is her credibility as a public figure. Whether you're a volunteer, you get paid or not.
That'll be up
when
to
you're
powers
influencing public policy, I found it very interesting. And I just.
Well,
I'm at a loss to figure this out.
Well, maybe you don't really have to burden yourself with. The main thing is anybody's credibility is going to be the test of either a prosecutor or a defense attorney, and ultimately a judge who is the trier of fact.
Well, I'll be interested to go back and see who the name is on the email, because I didn't really care who sent it to me or who sent it to them or how many people it went through before it ended up on my desk. Yeah.
Lorenzo Arambula is a convicted felon.
Okay.
So his own credibility is nil.
Okay.
And I can't remember her name.
I don't even care who it came from, because her comments on this were just so outrageous. Especially her saying, I'm on the town council now. That's what she said. She was so drunk she could hardly speak. But she managed to get out, I'm on the town council now. I was like, really? That's fascinating.
Well, that doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't, but I gave it to somebody that they're going to put it up on YouTube, so we're going to have some fun with it.
Well, yeah, that'll all, the chips will fall wherever they're going to fall.
Oh,
There's something that has emerged over this investigation, so, the best that I can recommend to anybody, for that matter, is don't have anything to do with people that have some history with her, because I've done some background on those people.
Yeah, I haven't.
And at least her ex-husband, if it's Lorenzo Arambula, is a convicted felon for drugs.
I have no idea.
Michael
I didn't even say anything to her that day. She's the one that came up and got in my face outside the council meeting. I was sitting out there quietly holding my little sign, and she had to get all smart-mouthed with me, so... I didn't even initiate that conversation.
Well, as we go through this thing, maybe that'll all come out, and we'll see how it. My main thing is just to solve problems and not to have people at each other's throats. But we have a situation here where there's an allegation, and these are allegations. There are some people that are emerging that or at least seem to have emerged that you're urging as if to bring them as witnesses against her, and that's not going to be allowed by a trier of fact or a judge or a prosecutor.
No, I've had no contact with anybody that knows her other than just my own curiosity after receiving these strange emails. And of course, the only thing that I did was I sent them immediately to Michael Frame, and because I figured that he might be interested in them.
Now, in these email conversations you're talking about, does she identify herself?
Oh yeah, well, yeah.
How does she identify herself?
It's me, Denise, or something like that. I don't even remember. I haven't listened to him for a while. I played him for about 20 people, and we got a good laugh out of it, though.
Well, sometimes when people are drunk, they can become hilarious. But
that's why I don't drink. Tend to do stuff you regret.
Well, yeah. So that's what it appears to be at this point. But then again, it's as we go through this thing, it may be something different altogether. But
yeah, I don't know any of those people, and I don't even know who. I didn't even know the name of her. I didn't even know she was married to that guy. Honestly, I had no idea she was married to him. I didn't know anything about him other than there was some guy sitting at the table that night. She accosted me, so I didn't know that.
Is the guy that was sitting at the table, does he have white hair and a white goatee, kind of a large guy?
Maybe.
Yeah, that guy is Michael Roosh.
Okay.
And they are to be married.
Oh, to be married, but they're not married. Okay.
They are to be married.
Yeah. Well, I'll believe that when I see it. I know a lot of people are to be married. Yeah.
And so what?
I know. Everybody's like,
these are the 2010s. Yes. People can live with each other and do whatever they want.
And I really don't care about that either.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's as a matter
like
of
I said, I didn't know anything about him. I'd never seen her before in my life. And I've been in town an awfully long time. I've been here over a decade. So you know, I didn't even know who she was when she yanked me out of that meeting, out of that restaurant that night at karaoke, and I haven't seen her back at karaoke.
Now, that incident occurred when, on or about when?
I don't know, about 6 weeks ago.
6 weeks ago.
I think. I mean, if I had to guess how many karaoke's ago, something like that. I don't know. You know, right now the days, the pace of the schedule I've got, everything sort of seems like a blur. Last week, 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, but that's why I keep things like written down, and that's why
journal?
I do I Facebook, and I do the newspaper, and I keep the dates and the facts and the things and the whatever, so that I can go back and refer to it later, because otherwise it's hard to even remember exactly. But I do remember, because it's the same group of us that's there every single Saturday, you know.
At Taco Bell.
Yeah, because we all karaoke. It's all the same group all the time. And what I do remember is that they were sitting either in the first booth next to the door or the one right behind that, and we were like a couple of booths behind, and it was almost my turn to sing, and I was watching the board, and I got up because I wanted to go to the bathroom, wash my hands before it was my turn to sing, and I couldn't even get out. I got up, and as soon as I got up, she grabbed me by the arm and she dragged me outside and wouldn't let me back in, and stood out there and bitched and yelled at me about why it was my business or what was going on in the town and so on and so forth. And my husband saw her do this, and he got up and he went quietly, slipped out the door and stood in the shadows behind the bushes. But she was so drunk that night that, you know, she probably didn't even see him walk out the door and go stand quietly at the side of the thing. But he went outside to make sure I was okay, and we talked about it afterwards, you know, because it was like kind of like really weird. I didn't even know who she was at the time. I just know this drunk woman. I literally did not even know who she was. Wouldn't recognize her. Grabs me by the arm and yanks me out the door. He said, "What did you say? Why don't you just, you know, why do you get cut out of the door? Why do you even care?" I'm like, because I have friends, because I live here, because it's my home.
Those types of confrontations are classic police matters, you know. So, and I make no distinction of who's the personnel arrest them. I don't care, you know. And had it been her or it had been Jesus himself doing it, I would arrest them, because that's kind of BS that we don't want to go on with between anybody, regardless of their political alignments or mental alignments or their views about dysfunctions, social dysfunctions or political dysfunctions. I mean, that's my message to everybody is, if you become a victim of a crime and it's readily evident that you're a victim, I will become your advocate. Regardless, I don't have any political views or political alignments. You know, I'm just a street cop.
Never know who's on duty, who's going to show up, what's going. I mean, it's like I said, you know, I've been here over a decade. I've never been arrested for anything in my entire life until I ran for town council, or said I was going to run for town council. I hadn't even pulled papers yet. But as soon as I said I was going to start the newspaper and run for town council, I found Al Johnson in my face on his day off, and when I asked him to leave, he shoved me, not once, but he actually made physical contact with me twice and then stepped on my toes. And I thought, well, surely this whole incident is recorded from literally by the time he pulled in till the time he got back in his car and finally left without a gap in it. And I had faith in the Quartzsite Police Department that they would protect me. So I called the Quartzsite Police Department. And instead, 5 days later, I was arrested for false reporting. And even though I filed a criminal complaint in writing against Al Johnson for assaulting me and for trespassing on the property I was leasing, no charges were ever brought against him. But they tied me up in court for an entire year until the statute of limitations expired and then dropped the charges. And yet, nothing happens to Al Johnson for shoving me on my own property. So, but they certainly used it in the campaign.
Well, whatever. And I wasn't there. I don't have anything to do with that. All I'm saying is straight out is that there's, obviously, you've got some conflicts with this Denise Florian. And,
I didn't even know I did until she apparently thought she had a problem with me. And at the time, like I said, I didn't even know who she was. Had no idea who she was. I just knew that this crazy woman was out here screaming at me outside of Taco Mio. But my husband was standing right there watching it in the shadows, because there's those like bushes right there in the front of the restaurant. So so I figured, well, she's about my size, and at least my husband's here, so, anything gets worse, at least I wasn't alone. I wouldn't have wanted to run into her in a back alley, that's for sure. You know, it's kind of scary, actually.
I mean, I would say this to anybody, if they have some reservations about involving the police for whatever the reasons, you know, keep your head, you know, play cool, and get away from the incident as best as you can if it happens in the future. You know, my commitment to everybody is that if you call me and I find there's probable cause, I'm going to make an arrest. It's as simple as that. So I don't think that you're going to have any problems with her in the future.
The only thing that I do remember that I said to her was, she made some snippy-ass comment to me about, oh, isn't this colorful? Because I was sitting there holding my little sign. And I said, yeah, about as colorful as, you know, as your background or something, because of the drinking problem. And that's all I was referring to was,
Was there any discussion about bringing her ex-husband and Michael Rush's ex-wife to testify against her in a hearing in the future?
No, not
Did she
that
bring anything that up?
She said some comment to me. She goes,
About what?
well, that name, that's where I remember the name that you keep saying, Michael, whatever his name is. Yeah, she said something to me about, you know, if, I don't care what you want to say about me, you can bring so-and-so, that stupid ex of mine, or that Roosh, whatever, something. But she said it. I didn't say it. She said it. She goes, you can bring anybody you want around here, because I've never been in jail, and I don't even, and she actually said, she goes, and I'm clean and sober, and I didn't tell her I had the audio tapes. And I just said, really? And I just said, well, be very careful what you say about me.
Is the initiation of her ex-husband and anybody else, Michael Rush's ex-wife, that was initiated by her, not you?
Yeah, because I don't even know who those people are. I really don't.
There's a high potential that Lorenzo Arambula is a very dangerous person. So if you get contacted by him, or if you get sought out by him,
yeah, nobody's gotten a hold of me. The only thing that I know is that she used to live in Anaheim, and her picture thing is on Facebook, and it's a private Facebook thing or whatever. I was like, well, because when she got appointed to the board, you know what I mean? I didn't know who she was the first board, the personnel board, which of course is of interest because of the hearings with the police officers and stuff going to appeal before the personnel board, and Karen and all that stuff. So I was curious about who she was as she got appointed to the personnel board, but there was nothing on there other than she was from Anaheim, and here's her picture. You know? So my only interest in her was in her relationship to, well, how could I be here for like over a decade now, and who the heck is this person I've never heard of suddenly getting appointed to boards?
They both relatively moved recently to Quartzsite.
Yeah.
Within the past,
well, that's
I think they moved at the end of the summer.
That's what I found to be so unusual, is that someone who just moved here would all of a sudden, out of all the 3,800 residents or whatever we have, that they would pick somebody that nobody knew anything about and put them on a board in charge of such a sensitive legal matter.
Well, they're not in charge.
Well, they make recommendations.
Well, let me just offer this. It's a voluntary assignment, I guess, or a voluntary activity, and it's in league with other members of a voluntary board panel.
Yeah.
It is not a politically charged or politically powerful entity. And as a reasonable person, when I see someone who is not known, who seems to relatively be an all right person, wants to volunteer with a minimal amount of a background, the reason why they're usually chosen is because they are not polarized.
Yeah.
They are objective, or they'll try to be objective.
Well, what's really interesting, for example, before you were in Quartzsite, there was this incident about a large amount of documents that Al Johnson was throwing in the garbage and taking out of town hall and stuff.
That was Dan Field's forte.
Well, but what was interesting is that we went and retrieved, we heard that they were throwing a bunch of sensitive stuff away, and some of the stuff that we retrieved from the dumpster, for instance, was a bunch of people's applications to be on these boards with all their private, unredacted, unshredded stuff. So it seemed like people who wanted to volunteer were getting round filed. And certain people were being sought out to fill out volunteer applications. That's what it appeared to, based on what a reasonable person might assume, given all of the facts that, had been going on at the time.
There's probably a whole lot of ways you can look at it.
Yeah, there is,
Okay.
there is.
So-
No, my only interest in her was just, well, where did she come from? Because of the personnel board thing. And a reasonable person might also argue that it is very politically charged because of the fact of, like, Barbara Bowman demanding that Gene Clark step down because she didn't like his comments and so on and so
Quartzsite has
forth. I mean, there's a
always
lot of,
been-
contentious stuff.
You know,
And the other
entire-
thing is that's not the only board she's on. Now, she's on the Health and Development Board, and the Health and Development Board makes recommendations about how town money is allocated. They're the ones that made the recommendation as to whether the senior center or the Chamber of Commerce, or there was one other one,
Well, I understand
whether
your
they get
concern.
certain amounts of money.
I understand your concerns,
You know,
but
and
the
so,
main thing is, she's also a victim in a case prosecution. Don't have any contact with her.
believe
And,
me, I avoid her like the plague. After that incident that night, I tried to stay as
There's
far
no
away from
doubt.
her as possible.
Since I've been in this area in Arizona since the beginning of La Paz County and the 1st of January of 1983, and Quartzsite has always been an area of contention and political, everyone trying to get into the act. Everyone wants to get into the act, and that's just maybe the bane of Quartzsite. So I can certainly understand the polarization and maybe the perspectives of some and the dissension and stuff like that. But as it relates to the boil down, people will be found out for what they are. That's usually what happens. It may take a while, but it takes, they'll either be found credible or they'll be found incredible. So the thing that keeps you clear is don't get involved with those types of people.
I don't. Believe me. I don't. I am way too busy for that. But like I said, there was a lady sitting on the bench, not 2 feet from that Florian woman.
Do you know who she is?
I recognize her, but I don't know her name. I mean, I'll recognize her when I see her.
Should she have heard the entire conversation between you?
Every word of it. But I just got to figure out who the heck
what does she look like?
She's an older lady that I recognized her from around town, and I can't think. At the time, I was thinking I knew who she was, but I couldn't place her. You know what I mean? I know most of the people around here by sight. This is like my customers. I know their dogs' names, but I don't know their names. I know I'm a visual person. I don't remember street names. I remember landmarks. Yeah. So I knew I recognized her. And I remember thinking, boy, am I glad she's sitting here 2 feet from me because of what had happened outside Taco Me. I'm thinking to myself, I'm glad I got a witness in case this crazy woman shoves me or something.
I want to find her.
Well, I'd like to find her too, I mean, obviously, because she would back up my story, so it'd be lovely to find her.
Well, and my responsibility is, if I can reasonably gather exculpatory information that helps balance or obviate or even exonerate you, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, well, and like I said, there's serious credibility issues here, like I said, when somebody stands right there, one of the things she said to me is, you call anybody you want. Then you call so-and-so. I don't care if you call that, whatever, somebody. And I remember thinking, who the hell is she even talking about? It didn't even make sense to me. Call who? I don't even know who these people are. Who am I supposed to call? You know what I mean? But the fact that this lady, heard the whole thing and heard, oh, by the way, Denise called me a meth user, which I found fascinating. Because I don't use drugs at all. I drink green tea and take vitamins. The only thing I do is coffee. I don't even smoke cigarettes. I think your body, you only get one body, and if you abuse it, it won't last.
For this
life. But I looked right at her and I said, when she said that, I said, excuse me, would you like to repeat that again? Because that woman was sitting there. I said, could you repeat that again? I'd like you to repeat that again. What did you just say to me? When she goes, you're a freaking meth user. And I was like, because I wanted to make sure that the witness heard it. And I said, I'll tell you what, Denise.
I want to find out who that person is.
Be very careful about what you say about me in public. Because that's an extremely damaging and false statement. Extremely.
If people believe it.
Well, yeah, but it's Quartzsite. People believe all kinds of crazy stuff.
They believe all lies and rumors and stuff. They get all whipped up.
Absolutely. So, when somebody who's on town boards runs around making false statements about me, I would be extremely
If you can find out who this person is that was on the bench, I'd like to know.
I'll try and see if I see them around town, I will.
If you do find her, all I want from you, if you ask her, just ask her name, if she'll cooperate.
Okay.
Try not to discuss the allegation against you.
Yeah, because then it becomes another witness.
Well, then the thing is, you don't want, look, it's real simple. It's a legal concept. You don't want to tamper or diminish your own defense witness. So don't engage them. Just say, I just would
Right.
like to know your
Yeah.
name. You may be a witness that can
Yeah.
help me in
Yeah.
something that I've got a problem with.
Yeah.
If she wants to explore it, you say, you need to find Officer Paterson with the...
Because there was another guy
Quartzsite
sitting on the
Police.
other bench, but I don't think he was close enough to have heard the conversation.
If you find out who the person is, refer them to see me. I'll interview her cold and clear, and that way I can get a good statement from her.
Well, like I said, I'm more than happy to play that audio tape.
Well, and
you
you
know,
know what?
we go to credibility. We'll go
You
to
know what?
credibility.
It doesn't really have anything to do with it. It doesn't have anything to do with this case. Hey, Joe.
Well, I'll let the judge figure that one out.
As long as we do the trier effect. All right, good luck to you.